Hello and welcome to another edition of the Felicia Taylor Arts Legacy Series. I'm Michael Williams, and we're honored to have as our guest today Arnaud Sussmann, the artistic director for the Chamber Music Society of Palm Beach, a world-renowned, world-class violinist. Thank you so much for being here.
Michael, thanks for having me.
April concluded another wonderful season, and you had more brilliant programming last month. Talk about the season just concluded and what's ahead.
Oh, you're right. This was just an amazing season. Very proud of what we accomplished this year. We had sold-out crowds for all our concerts, and we presented absolutely world-class musicians, as you said, including the Ennis Quartet. James Ennis, who's a violin soloist, world famous. We had Gary Hoffman, a legendary cellist. Our final concert this season was a world premiere by Michael Stephen Brown, who is a great friend, a wonderful pianist and composer. He wrote a piece that's a companion piece to the Carnival of the Animal by Saint-Saëns, Carnival of the Animals, and the piece is called The Endangered Carnival. And the entire season has been wonderful. And of course, we have a very important new project as of a couple of years ago called the Rising Artist Program.
I want to talk about that.
We will, yes.
We're going to talk about that because I see the passion just coming off of you about that very important educational piece, which syncs with the Chamber's goal to expand education, and they've done so for thousands of students over the years with a lot of the work they do. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. As you look ahead to next season, an artistic director's work is never done. What are you looking forward to next year?
Well, next year's been planned already for a long time because our musicians are very busy, booked at least 2 years in advance, and we will have a season reveal quite soon, but I can share that we have two main themes next year, which are Beethoven, because it will be the 200th anniversary of his passing, and America at 250. And so those two themes will be weaved through the entire season, including our gala. And so I'm very excited to announce the season.
2019, you come to be the artistic director. The stage for you is really the world. As I said at the outset, you're a world-class violinist. What motivated you to become artistic director here?
This was a brand new thing. Now it's been a couple of years. But yes, I've been performing. This has been my main thing for many years. And I have mentors who I've seen for a long time who are artistic directors. And I saw the joy that they get in presenting musicians and programming concerts. And when I was given this opportunity here in Palm Beach, I jumped on it. And it has been an amazing addition to my life to be able to craft programs, interesting programs, to craft an interesting season, and to invite great musicians is such a joy and has been a big part of my life, and I think a lot about that. And what I've realized over the last few years is the impact that we can make as an organization in our community, and I can make as an artistic director in the work that we do, not just with our main concerts, but with our Rising Artist Project, as well as our community engagement.
And before we jump to that impact with the Rising Artists, for those who may not be completely familiar, define chamber music.
Chamber music is an old art form, started around the 1700s, and basically it's a few musicians on stage who make music together. We like to say music amongst friends and for friends. And it started in a chamber. That's why it's called chamber music. It was music written for and performed in chambers, and with small groups of musicians, no conductor. And that's the major difference between that and symphonic concerts. But it can include all kinds of instruments, from strings to piano to winds to brass instruments, and it can be from 2 players until about 13, 14, 15. The point is there's no conductor, and it's really like a democracy. Everybody has a voice in chamber music, and decisions are made all together. There's no single person that will dictate something like a conductor might in a symphonic space.
And briefly, venues here include?
Venues here in Palm Beach include Bethesda by the Sea, beautiful, beautiful space here on the island, as well as the North Museum and the Kravis Center.
I know that near and dear to your heart is about paying it forward, your talent, your passion. The Rising Artist Program, 2025, the inaugural year. Talk about what it is all about, what you're so proud to be achieving there with this now ongoing program.
Yes, a very successful young program, as you said. It started because as a young musician, I was part of a similar program at Carramore, which is near New York, in Katona, New York. And I was so inspired by what happened then from my mentors and my colleagues at the time that I knew already back then I would want to pay it forward when I had the opportunity to do so. And the point of that is that at a certain point in a young musician's life, I believe it's just as important to play with people and not just for people.
Right.
You know, you grow up, you play your lessons for your teachers, you play your chamber music groups for mentors, for teachers, but being able to play with them is a whole other ballpark, and you learn from the experience that they bring to the group. So the point of our program is that we play in the group, the mentors.
The creative synergy.
Exactly. And people that are slightly older, slightly more experienced, are able to share in just playing with young musicians, not just telling them what to do.
My understanding is you're bringing in 4 young string players, extraordinarily gifted, helping give them exactly what you just described, and that's part of what will be this ongoing Rising Artist Program.
That's exactly right, and we are also trying to make a difference not just by the musical elements of it, by teaching them through our playing, but also sharing through informal, casual conversations, life lessons that we may have learned that, and we wish we would have been told at their age. It could be airline points, it could be which hotel to stay at, and also things
so that you're ready for your musical performance.
Exactly.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't add that by one account that I came across, the Chamber reaches 2,000 or more students each year. You have this wonderful program, but the reach for the Chamber, the synergy you and the Chamber create together to reach students and young musicians each year is really extraordinary.
100%, and it's I consider it a spectrum of people that we want to reach in the communities. So on the student side, we go to all kinds of schools, from Palm Beach Day School to the Dreyfus School of the Arts, Bach Middle School, and the list goes on and on. We've gone to the Veterans Hospital, which is always an amazing visit for us there. We've gone to the homeless shelter and countless other places here in the community which we feel and we know that bringing our music to them, it makes an impact, not just for them, but for the musicians. I always say to the students that we play for, the people that we play for, that the energy that they may get, we get it back tenfold. It's really quite amazing.
I see that and hear that. I see it in the sparkle in your eyes and the smile on your face. Your career background, born in Strasbourg, France, trained at the Conservatoire du Paris at Juilliard, 1-point teaching assistant for the legendary Itzhak Perlman, have performed with him and other giants. In 2009, the recipient of the Avery Fisher Career Grant, selected by those who saw your talent and the arc for an international impact, which you continue to have with your travels. It's often been said, Arnaud, that you have an old school sound. How did you develop that? What's your origin story when you remember back through the mist of time to your childhood where you began to say, this is my passion, this is where I want to be and go?
I feel fortunate I never had to decide. I've played the violin since I'm 7 years old, and it was such a natural thing to me and always loved it. And so the path basically lay open for me since that young age.
You knew?
I knew.
Were you encouraged to pick it up at 7, or you did that on your own?
Actually I started piano at 5. My parents, who are not musicians, felt it would be a good thing for me and my sisters to learn instruments, which it was, and I'm the only one who continued professionally, and always loved practicing, which is not something you might hear from young people, but I always did.
You instantly knew?
Instantly knew. I loved listening to old school violinists, as you mentioned, people like Jascha Heifetz, David Oistrakh, Nathan Milstein, and the list goes on. Itzhak Perlman, who I ended up studying with. And so this was a passion of mine from a very young age. I started traveling at a young age for my studies. As you said, I was in Paris, and I went to Juilliard in 2001. And so the path, I feel very fortunate. I know a lot of young people are struggling to find what they're going to do in life. It was never the case for me.
What at your essence is the gift you bring from mind and heart to strings? You have a podcast that you took part in. It's called Mind Over Finger Podcast. And it's interesting to those of us who are non-musicians about what you bring from the passion to what we hear from on stage. Talk about that. What motivates you, what drives you, what creates your sound, your special approach?
Well, I do believe that the best musicians have both the mind and the heart, right? You have to be able to analyze what you do, whether it's in your performances, understanding the depth of the music that the composers wrote, and then also be able to play from the heart, because you don't want to be too much of a brainiac when that happens. And then as far as how
you want
I lead...
to feel the music.
100%. And as far as how I lead my life, how I lead the organization, frankly, the best analogy is chamber music for me, because chamber music as an art form, this is why I'm so passionate about it, is the fact that we rely on one another as musicians. We have conversation on stage. We count on the other people that we play with when we perform. And when we rehearse, you have to leave ego out of the door, because it's all in the service of the music. And we are so absolutely fortunate to every day come back to masterworks by Beethoven, Brahms, Mozart, as well as living composers. I mentioned Michael Stephen Brown, and be able to spend a lifetime studying these incredible works, being humbled by them, and being humbled by your colleagues. Quite often in rehearsals, things can be pretty direct, but that's the beauty about what we do.
You play a 1731 Stradivarius. Talk about that.
Well, this has been an amazing new addition to my life. About 3 years ago, we have incredibly generous patrons of the organization who I've gotten very close with, who have agreed. It took quite a journey for that to happen, but they've agreed to purchase this violin for my use. And this is an instrument that was made by Antonio Stradivarius in his 90s. He was quite old. He had the help of his sons in the workshop. And it's a stunning instrument, both visually and the sound of it. It's got a deep sonority, dark, which I love, and fits my sound so well, because with instruments, it's a relationship. They have a sound and I have a sound, and you try and work out what you can get out of these instruments. And so to play such a historical instrument is a privilege, and people here in Palm Beach can hear it every time I perform on our stage.
You bring the instrument alive. It brings you alive as well, as what I'm hearing.
100%.
Talk a little bit more about some of the venues that, and I know you've traveled the world, and I mentioned Mr. Perlman and many other giants. Are there particular performances or venues that stand out, particular moments that even in the midst of playing you said, this is it?
You know, it's always hard to pinpoint specific performances, but I can mention incredible halls in this country, and there's such a rich history of chamber music and just of music in general in this country. But St. Cecilia Music Center in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is more than 100 years old, and it's a magnificent hall. Of course, in New York, I often play at Lincoln Center, and this is a legendary place to perform, and I've performed all over the world. But I must say, the concerts that we bring here in Palm Beach are of the quality of the very best concert that people might see in Vienna, in Berlin, in New York, and we bring that to our own backyard here in Florida.
And bring it full circle for us. Bring that superb talent, that 7-year-old little boy who had the passion, your experience, the giants that you've worked with, the international acclaim you have. Synthesize that in closing about how you bring that all together, especially for the young people that you hope will carry on for you and others.
It has become totally my passion to pay back what I received as a young musician and to give what I've learned over the last 30 years of my career to the next generation. It gives me so much energy, so much joy to help train the next generation and be a part of this incredible art form and pay it forward. That's the point of it all.
And we can now say you call South Florida home. The last couple of years, you made South Florida your home. A lot of frequent flyer miles, but you now make Palm Beach County your home.
Yes, well, luckily I have 2 airports I can fly out of, Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale. But yes, we moved from New York with my wife and 2 young kids, and we love our life here.
Let me ask you one question I've asked others this season. AI, we hear about it all the time, about its encroachment on the human experience, the human talent, the human component that you've talked about. Speak to that, what you say to young students who worry, will I be crowded out of a future of creativity and humanity by AI?
Well, it's hard to see where AI is going to take us in the future, but frankly, at this point in time, I don't fear at all about the performing arts because the live experience is something that people seek all the time, especially coming out of COVID a few years ago, and people were terribly missing live concerts. And so there's tremendous energy at our concerts. I don't think this is going to be replaced anytime soon. And I always like to see the positive in technology. To be able to call my family across the world through my phone is a beautiful thing. I use AI to help me with scheduling if I can.
Okay.
It's not always reliable, but I like to use
It
AI
helps.
in the best way possible. And again, I think as far as live performance is concerned, we should be safe, hopefully.
A final top-of-mind thought.
Well, it has been an honor for the last 7 years to be here in Florida and to lead this organization. I have seen the impact we've made in the community, and we're only getting started. That's what I tell people. I have some grand projects which I can't wait to share with the public, but I want this to be something that I do in the long run here, and we're going to keep building very strongly on what we've already done.
We see, feel, and hear the passion, and we thank you so much for being our guest. Arnaud Sussmann, everyone, the artistic director for the Chamber Music Society of Palm Beach, a world-renowned and world-class violinist, and, if I may say, a world-class in terms of caring about what's most important, the future, through the education work you and the Chamber do. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you.
We appreciate it, and as we thank you, we of course thank you for being with us for the Felicia Taylor Arts Legacy Series. Share it with your family, friends, and on social media, and of course you can watch our episodes at any time on palmbeachcivic.org. Thanks for being with us.